Things were better in the olden days, they tell us. The old songs were the best, they say, while knocking back medication for their dementia. I remember when you could buy 2 Curly Whirlies, 3 cartons of Umbongo, 4 copies of Whizzer and Chips, a packet of Space Dust and Spangles, a picture of Arthur Scargill, a bag of white dog poo, and still have change from £1. But it's often true, in some cases, that things were better in the old days. Dinosaurs for one thing. Nowadays, dinosaurs are just bones and rocks and ting. Unfortunately, when it comes to games, I don't think it's as simple as saying things were better in the olden days. Certainly, there are things about the 80s and 90s home gaming scene that were more charming, more homespun. There was something innocent about the early games, as innocent as anything can be that is the product of man, history's greatest monster. The world that the likes of Manic Miner and Ant Attack were born into was less corporate than it is today. More about creativity and possibility than meeting financial targets. There was something alchemical in the air, and computer games in those days were something new, something mysterious, like they'd been beamed to us from some distant planet ruled over by Matthew Smith and Kevin Toms. Nowadays, games are just another branch of the entertainment industry. Call of Duty and FIFA are our One Direction and Justin Bieber, pressed out of a mould and genetically engineered to be as accessible and broadly appealing as possible. But after too long in the wilderness of the arrival of Steam and the resurgence of indie gaming, it's again possible to find alternatives to the blockbuster franchises, which echo the charm and imagination of those early days. Generally speaking, there's something for everyone, especially if you're an easily pleased idiot. But it's telling that indie games such as Shovel Knight and Hotline Miami adopt an 8-bit aesthetic. Not only does that keep budgets down, but such an approach channels nostalgia for those early days. Yet games like that screw their rose-tinted telescope to gameplay the like of which was rarely seen in those formative years of the industry. And there's good reason for that. It's a reason that isn't going to be popular. Old games are terrible. Oh, I love Back to School and Jet Set Willy, same as the rest of you. I love The Hobbit and Pyjamarama, but how many of those games did I ever complete legitimately? Let's face it, if you release games with those controls today, you'd be driven out of town, forced to live in a pigsty with some pigs. People would pay to come and point and laugh and throw scissors at you. Even the sacred cows of Ultimate Play the Game, Attic Attack, Underworld, Night Law, are barely playable horrors. Play them today and it feels like most of the challenge comes from poor design decisions or horrible controls. It just reminds me that I grew up loving those games because of the potential I recognised them, because of what they promised, not what they delivered. This is one of the reasons the ZX Spectrum Vega is a ridiculous idea, because they've just lobbed 1,000 old games onto the plug into your TV thing without thinking of how they might tailor them to a more modern sensibility. At least when Rare released its recent retro collection on the Xbox One, the games were presented in beautiful HD. You were playing them with a proper joypad and there are even remixed versions included. And some more recent better games. And I say that with the caveat that even the well-regarded Perfect Dark plays like somebody has overgreased the power steering on a go-kart. For years now, I've been hovering above eBay, tempted to get a Vectrex or Virtual Boy. Because when they were released, I wanted them more than anything. But what holds me back is the knowledge that they can only disappoint, that they can never live up to the relentlessly play-tested, carefully engineered games of today. Old games, when played as they were, without bells and whistles or concessions to the intervening decades of progress, no longer hold up, and it's time to stop letting ourselves be blinded by nostalgia. The best games on the ZX Spectrum or Commodore 64 or Atari 2600 play worse than the worst games released today. It's like if you went back in time and played a Caveman, the latest single by demented former X Factor winner Steve Brookstein. He'd think it was the best song he'd ever heard. Back then, in the 70s, 80s and early 90s, we didn't know any better. We were the cavemen. It doesn't mean we can't still love what those games represent, what they mean to us on a personal level. It doesn't mean we can't appreciate the characters or the graphic design or the sound. But, by and large, most old games play with all the grace and elegance of trying to play darts while forcing an octopus into a top hat. Accept it. I've been Mr Biffo, and if you enjoyed this video, please like, share and subscribe. Or don't, but I will come and find you. Thanks for listening.